So the MDC, I'm going to talk to you about what we are and how we support the sector, and then get into some of the specifics that we do. Why did we set ourselves up like we are? What are we doing? What's the impact we want to have? And how do we, work across the sector and work with yourselves, essentially? So let me just move the faces. So we are part of the Catapult network. So the Catapults are a set of essentially centres of excellence, partly funded by Innovate UK, who are the government's innovation arm. There are 9 catapults at the moment, soon to be 10, and we look after really important industry sectors within the UK. So for us, pharmaceutical sector is a very important sector in the UK, and the need for a catapult is because of the size and shape of that sector. There are a very small number of very, very big players, but there's a huge number of very small companies, startup companies, innovation within academia, in charities, clinical academics, and there's fabulous ideas all over the place, but basically in very, very small organisations. So hence the need for a catapult to make sure that every one of those great ideas has the opportunity to potentially make it through to patients. So what's really useful to understand about the catapult is we are an independent company. So we're a not-for-profit company. We benefit from a grant from the Catapult network, but we also have to generate our own income to run our programmes. And we do that through collaborative grants or commercial work. So we're essentially a specialist service provider. A team of specialists from a range of backgrounds, academic, pharma, clinicians. So a really diverse group of folks who've all come together to coalesce around this really important mission. So our vision and what we say we're here to do is reshaping drug discovery for patient benefit. And our purpose is to take great UK science and partner with great UK scientists to help translate those good ideas through to the clinic or through the market. So everything we do is driving towards partnerships, translational partnerships, to get those compounds into the clinic or those technologies validated and through onto the market. And as an organisation, we've come together around some really strong values that drive everything we do internally and externally. So when we were setting up the Catapult in 2016, given the diversity of where the great ideas are in the UK and the richness of that landscape, we did a deep analysis of what are the barriers to innovation in the UK. And after a lot of conversations and surveys and interviews, we landed on these 4 key areas in 2016, and they're just as relevant today. So we reckon these are the 4 barriers you need to address to make a difference. And the first 2 are sector-wide barriers. So fundamentally, there really is a lack of predictable preclinical tools and technologies to understand what is likely to happen in human disease in the clinic. So that's a big barrier. There are specialist areas. If you're a major pharmaceutical company, you've got access to all these really highly skilled technicians and assays, but generally there's a lack of good models, human translatable models. So that's an area that we felt needed to be addressed. Also, the beauty of our life sciences ecosystem is also part of its downfall. It is very diverse and complex. There's lots of really great stuff in there, but it's difficult to know how to navigate it. So, completely hats off to Sonia and Jane for this initiative, because this is, another one of those really important initiatives that try and get to the heart of how do we make all of us better. So that increasing the connectivity across the landscape for an innovator who might have a brilliant technology idea but don't really know where to take it is another one of the key areas we set up to address. And then we've got the areas that are impacting individual drug innovators, and that is lack of access to the state-of-the-art technologies and skills that a larger company, again, would take for granted. So this idea of democratizing R&D was what we set up to do, so we can invest in state-of-the-art and then partner with people to make sure that their assets are benefiting from the very, very best of the technologies that are out there. And then finally, again, relating to the some of the really exciting areas in medicines discovery are maybe come out of an engineering lab or certainly a technical lab. And so they might have a damn splendid idea, but they just don't know drug discovery. They don't know that pathway. And so really making sure that we essentially wrap our arms around good ideas and say, right, well, what you've got now, this is your roadmap to the clinic. This is what you would have to do to get there. And these are the organizations you can work with. So really trying to support that, years and years of drug discovery know-how, which is hard to get by, surrounding our companies, our innovators with that expertise. So with all of that in mind, how we set ourselves up and how our 150 people are deployed are around a number of key capabilities, which I will show you in a sec. So with everything that I've just described and everything I'm about to show you, this is essentially what we're trying to do, taking those barriers and turning them into opportunities. So we are going to develop new methods. So we're going to do our own core innovation work and develop new tools and methodologies that make preclinical drug discovery more predictive of the clinic. And about a third of our work is based on that. That's what we use our Innovate UK core grant to do, to generate our own innovative technologies. We then use those technologies in partnerships, and we make those advanced technologies accessible. And we work with academics and companies to develop the data required on their assets using the technologies we've developed. How we set ourselves up then and what we actually do day to day are based around what we call our capabilities. So we've got specialist capabilities. The first three are our lab-based capabilities, and we have large teams of scientists in the lab running a program of cellular sciences, discovery biomarkers, a suite of advanced translational imaging technologies, and a team of informaticians. And what we're trying to do here is both develop those new approaches to try and make drug discovery more predictable, and then we offer direct support to innovators. So anyone you're working with who is trying to develop a compound, develop a technology, we can talk to them, partner with them, work out what the bespoke requirements they need are, and then we can either deliver those experiments ourselves or use our partnered networks of specialists who can also join our projects and deliver those experiments. Everything we're trying to do is create that really essential data package to unlock the next level of investment, whether that be a grant or your Series A. And so that everything is around taking that asset and either doing the right experiments to say that's not going to work, reinvest your scarce resource, or brilliant, there's the data package, on you go, take that and try and get further funding. Here's a flavour of our technologies. As I say, we're in a lovely, privileged position in that our core grant allows us to invest in the state-of-the-art kit. So we have a suite of technologies covering all these really important translational aspects, and we use these technologies. We also have really good networks to access human samples, whether it's human data. So that combination of access to kit, expertise, samples, data ends up being a bespoke program for the innovation that's in front of us. As I say, people work with us either through collaborative grants or we can work on a commercial basis. Just another insight into where we work. So we work in this translational space. We don't do chemistry. We don't identify your first chemical matter either. So we start to become important when you've got your hit. If we are in that early LI phase, we would collaborate with chemists, with chemistry providers. We felt there was a lot of really good medicinal chemists and synthetic chemists out there. So we didn't specialize in that area, but we work closely with some of the experts in the field. So we focus here in this cellular validation right through into early experimental medicine, where we're doing some biomarker discovery. And so they're the areas that we were focusing in. So taking a compound right through to IND. The other area that we work in is what we call our discovery. So that was our discovery labs. This is our discovery partnerships. And these are sort of non-lab-based capabilities. And the first one is what we call virtual R&D. And that's where we take our scientists who have worked in drug discovery for many, many years, and they work with innovators to look at what you've got and say, right, roadmap to the clinic, as I keep saying. I do repeat that a lot. So what have you got? What do you need to do? And who can do those experiments for you? So we offer that as a direct advisory support, one-to-one, to innovators. And in the last few years, we've started to partner with national accelerators to offer that same support to the accelerators. So what we bring to the table is the technical speciality, and we partner up with accelerators that can do all the sort of commercialization and business cases, and we bring that technical know-how. And that's something that is going really, really well, and we would love to do more of and love to be involved in specialist accelerators because they work so well. Some examples there that we've worked on, the one at the top was the Alderley Park Oncology Development Programme. So we worked in partnership with AZ, the Christie, ourselves, CRUK, Innovate. So a lot of really interesting like-minded organisations came together to put together this programme. And we supported the cohort to develop business cases that then went at the end of it to pitch to industry. And some of the feedback we got from industry was they'd never seen such good pitch decks from companies at this level of their development. And most of those companies have went on to raise significant investment. So as an idea, a themed accelerator supported by a network of experts is beautiful for really hothousing those good ideas. And then we're also working with Accelerate Abraham. We've just finished a boot camp with them, and we did support Start Code On. We're having conversations with We Are Pioneer Group. So really anyone and everyone that wants to support life sciences in any areas that we are expert in, we would love to support and be involved in. And then the final area of this partnership group is what we call our national programmes now. Our national programmes are where we work with cross-sector stakeholders to really understand what are the barriers to medicines discovery in this particular area. And our very first foray into this was with Paula, who's online, and the CF Trust. We started small, we started talking to Paula and her team, and what blossomed out of there was a beautiful collaboration that has been going on for many years now and ultimately became the bedrock for what we now call our national programmes. We have 6 of these big initiatives now, which was based around what are the problems, what do we need to do to enable innovation. And for example, we would want to not only help individual innovators, but also look at what are the systemic barriers. So for example, in cystic fibrosis, one of the challenges was the lack of access to clinical isolates. So one of the projects within that collaboration now is a funded virtual biorepository initiative to pull together clinical isolates around the UK to support innovators. So that's an early example of where we started to realise just how valuable these things were. So what we've went on to do is actually convene a number of these conversations to get the right people around the table to really articulate. And when I say the right people, I mean charities, patients, clinicians, industry regulators, funders, round the table to discuss and agree what are the long list of challenges and what are the ones that we can prioritise. And then we create reports. And then ultimately, and the goal is to take that initial knowledge, and it's powerful enough because there's so many voices around the table, take that, leverage funding and create initiatives that then allows us to both support innovators and create an enabling infrastructure to support that area of science. So here are just some examples of our what we've been doing. So we worked with My Name's Doddy and the MND Association and come up with a guiding principles document for ALS, drug discovery and development. So a really nice blueprint for these are the challenges, these are the opportunities. One of the ideas in there was around the repurposing aspect and how we can make that better. LifeArc, a fantastic partner, then went on to fund a £5 million initiative on repurposing. So these documents, they're a bit like, you know, the James Lind Alliance is clearly a large initiative, takes months, and it comes up with your top 10 uncertainties. This is a very focused barriers to medicines discovery. So it's a really useful, lighter touch version of, which I love, the James Lind Alliance work. And there's some examples of what we've done and then went on to create programs around them. So to bring this to life, I've got a few slides on our most recent program that we've put together, and that's called PACE. So what we're looking at here is the challenge of the development of new antimicrobials to deal with the problem of antimicrobial resistance. Significantly large global problem. By 2050, it's expected to about at least 10 million deaths a year. So it's a significant global problem. But because it's such a challenging market, there is very, very little innovation. There's been no novel classes of drugs for about 30 years. The clinical pipelines are very, very tiny, and the majority of the companies working in this space are SMEs and early stage SMEs. So there's a real dearth here of innovation, and we wanted to work with a couple of really important partners to try and do something about this. So this is an initiative that we launched last year, £30 million programme funded by LifeArc and Innovate UK. And let me tell you a little bit about it, because I think it's just a beautiful model, and we'd love to do more of these types of models, and I'll show you why. So it's more than just funding an innovator to try and develop their technology. It's got these three really important aspects to it. The first one is what we've called strengthening, and that is we do want to increase the pipeline of drugs. We want to do it as a cohort so that we can have a balance of traditional and non-traditional approaches. We also want to make sure that we're really clear on what are the unmet needs, what are the focus of this. And so we work with charities, we've worked with the NHS, we looked at the WHO top pathogen list, and we refined and come up with a theme for our first call, which we put out last year to support innovation within this specific area. Then what we do is when we have chosen our cohort, and we chose 11, we had 170 applications globally, we chose 11, they get up to £1 million each. But more than funding, what they get is a wraparound support. So we are giving them the funding, but we're also stacking their team with R&D advisors. We're also supporting them with who could be running these experiments for you. Tell you a little bit about that coming up. And then the final thing is what we've called accelerating. And that is, yes, brilliant, you can support the companies, but there's a lot of underpinning infrastructure that's really going to be needed to allow them to be successful. So whether that is who's going to provide you follow-on funding, how are you going to get support from the regulators, how can you test your compounds against the strain you're interested in, but maybe other strains to look for other opportunities. So a lot of enabling science behind. So essentially, innovators being funded through a cohort, but underpinned by a number of projects of enabling science. So this is what it looks like, this wraparound support. We're combining all these aspects within the area of antimicrobial resistance to make the very best of every penny that we invest. So there's funding, access to support, training, support and capabilities, support for follow-on. So we are literally taking this team, this lovely cohort, and just doing everything we can to make them either successful, or if it's not going to be successful, fail fast, because everything is milestone dependent funding. And we've created our PACE Academy, And what that is just a little bit more detail around what I was telling you. We've got our teams and they have this tailored journey through the innovation. We can set up scientific advisory boards. We can give them access to patient involvement. We are running a series of workshops. We're talking to the government's educational foresighting to talk about the skills that are required in the future in AMR. And we also provide that business support through our partners. And as much as possible with everything we're doing here, we're going to, when we create it, make it widely available. It's really important is to try and disseminate as much as we can around what we're learning as we go on. So one final slide on that just shows you the network we're putting around it. So all those organisations that I've mentioned to you before, but specifically on what's really nice, another thing that's really nice, is our PACE delivery partner network. Now, what we do here is the CRO sector in the UK really is fabulous. And so if our companies require experiments done in areas where these CROs are experts in, that's who they should be working with. So we have signed up a delivery partner network who are funded companies can go to and work with to deliver the work packages to complete that project. So as I said, this is a nice model, and essentially you can sum it up as a disease mission. You know, we're working in other areas like dementia, psychiatry, and trying to recreate this model, which is, if you've got a real focus on a big challenge that industry care about, that the government care about, then there's this opportunity to blend these public and private, not just money, but experiences. And that's what we've done here. So this blend of charity and public money has allowed us to be really creative in the way that we can fund companies. Innovate UK can only fund UK, LifeWork can fund globally. So blending these allows us to have much more flexibility in what we can do with the money. And we think this is a way forward. The model is quite simple, you know, work cross-sector, build on the UK's science, build on the infrastructure that's already out there that attracts industry to co-invest. Industry find the UK frustrating, difficult to navigate, but if you create something big and meaty, then it gives them more confidence that you're working with the best of the best and we're talking to each other. We can strengthen our global workforce in areas that are really highly specialist. We can support our young companies. And importantly, and the reason we're all here, is you've got a better chance of success in getting these medicines quickly through into the clinic to have an opportunity of making a difference. And so, yeah, this connectivity is really important. Plus, we're working international. Why wouldn't you when you're working in any of these areas? And this big thing gives you the opportunity to attract international partners. So, a couple of final slides to say about what else MDC does. So, everything I've told you around is we set ourselves up to support innovators, to support them to succeed, either directly on the ideas they've got, or if there's a lack of innovation, create these national programs to catalyse innovation, to de-risk it and catalyse more companies into the sector. In order to be able to do all that, we have to keep a view on what else is going on. So we annually have these, what we call our State of Discovery Nation. And that's when we do a deep dive into the sector and what's actually going on, how are people feeling, where are the challenges. And we've just published our 2024 one. And this time round, what was really the focus was the challenge that some of our smallest and most innovative companies are facing at the moment. Everyone's faced a financial challenge over the last few years. We had our COVID peak, and then from 22, the funding just dropped enormously. We're picking back up now in 25, but there was a few years where our most vulnerable small companies were struggling to get experiments done, struggling to access labs, just struggling. And so this report is really nice. You can download it from our website. It's not about us. It's not a marketing pitch. It's about the sector. And we go into a lot of detail around who are our therapeutic companies in the UK. There's such a small number of them. They're doing brilliant stuff. And our message here is we all need to work together as an ecosystem to just support them through this current really challenging time. And that's the key message out of this, that we need to support these companies to de-risk their assets, to attract the follow-on funding, which will flow probably through mid-25 onwards, but it will flow. And we want to make sure we've got the companies that are there ready to start to pick up that funding. My final slide is just leaving you with, we've talked all this brilliant stuff, but what difference has it made? And we call this our impact-togram. Well, we say we, I do. Not quite certain how far it's catching on, but I'm pushing it. So this is what we've done over the time. We've supported over 260 partners. The number on the top right there is really important. Companies that we've worked with have gone on to raise now over £1 billion in investment. So we believe that we're having real impact and doing the right things. There's our national programs. So we've got we've got 2 in infectious disease, we've got 2 in neuroscience, we've also got 2 technical programs. So it's not just clinical unmet need. If there's a new technology that's around that has got masses of potential but is a high barrier to access, then we've created national programs. So the NPIP stands for our National PET Imaging Platform. So we've introduced total body PET imaging into the UK. And so we've a series of pre-clinical translational imaging all the way through to clinical total body PET imaging, where we're encouraging research and NHS diagnostics in that area. And ICDDC is an important one in that it's a program where we're looking at the next generation of complex medicines. So, for example, mRNA therapeutics, fantastic opportunity there, real opportunity to drug the undruggable. However, these things are difficult to deliver. It's difficult to target the right organ. It's difficult to make sure they get into the cells. They need a delivery vehicle. So there's a lot there of technical complexity that needs to be overcome for this class of medicines to really reach their potential. So we have a program there that we're developing. And I think the rest speaks for itself. So that's all I wanted to share with you. Thank you for listening.